anyway, I actually started helping out with Occupy Raleigh first. I went to NC State. I have a lot of connections over there, and also friends there and everything. So anyway, and I was also at the state capitol, so that was going to be the bigger of the movements to start. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, if that's okay, the Occupy Raleigh first, what's been going on there, and then talk about what I've seen here so far and what I'm doing here. Occupy Raleigh, we had a couple of what they call general. You guys familiar with the General Assembly and all that? Yeah. Okay. So we had a couple of meetings before that's organized. Occupy Raleigh. All they occupy is there's no official leader. There's no, organization behind it, bankrolling anybody. It's all sort of organic and basically at our own. It depends on the organizers that show up, the people that show up at these GAs to get things done, break into committees, working groups, and whatnot. So we had 2 GA meetings because we wanted to get it going quick. We didn't know how long the momentum was going to last at Wall Street, so we wanted to make sure that we get on the ball fast, so to keep it going, because the more cities it gets to, the more politicians and everybody sees it, because like, this is a real thing. It's not just going to last for 4 weeks and go away. So we started occupation on Saturday in Raleigh. We had a big rally there, and 1,000 people showed up at the state capitol grounds on Saturday. We had no problems. It's obviously a non-violent movement, and we were all peaceful. We had a nice rally all day long. Music. I played a few songs. Actually, I'm playing the cave tomorrow night, but that's another thing. Anyway, but so we marched in the afternoon, and we had a permit to have that rally that lasted until 3 p.m. at the Capitol grounds. Come 3 p.m., the permit expired, but the state police, now you have to keep in mind the city streets and the sidewalks belong to the city as far as jurisdiction. The Capitol grounds are governed by the state. It's separate from the city. The state Capitol Police watch the Capitol grounds. So they said, okay, they started to say, okay, your permit's up, but we're going to tolerate it for now. And basically, we can't say for sure what was going on, but I think they're kind of waiting out to see the numbers thin as people have been there all day. They're going to go home. Not everybody's going to stay and occupy, and not everybody's willing to get arrested. So they let it go to sunset. The crowd thinned out to, I don't know, 100 people. I'm not exactly sure. That's a rough estimate. And then they said, okay, if you get rid of all the signs, you're not technically a demonstration anymore. You can stay. That was about just before 7 o'clock that night. Then there's some guy who was, the guys need me to slow down. Okay. Then there was some guy who we dubbed Colonel Sanders, who was dressed in like a red jacket or a sweatshirt, because he had like a big beard like Colonel Sanders or whatever. The state chief of police is who this guy talked to, and all of a sudden the tune changed. So we don't know who he was, and he said, okay, now you got to clear the park now, or you're going to get arrested. Most people cleared the park, including myself. I cannot afford to get arrested. I have a job, and I don't want to lose that job, or I'm going to be on the street living in this tent permanently. So anyway, so the arrests began at just after 7 o'clock, towards 7:30. That took about 20 minutes. 20 people or so arrested, and it was very methodical. All the media was there, so there was not any. And the protesters just sat totally silent in a circle, no struggle, no resistance to the police. The police were very methodical and calm and collected, just walked each one to the paddy wagons, the prisoner transport vans, and took them to the jail. Now, a lot of people in the area thought that was it. That was the end of the protest. So a lot of us went down to the jail and protested in front of the jail on the sidewalk. In Raleigh, it's legal to demonstrate on to picket. I'm sorry, it's not officially. There's a difference, a loophole. You can picket on a sidewalk as long as you notify the cops. So we did that. Everybody was released on their own recognizance within like 3 or 4 hours. Just they processed. It's a minor charge. Basically it was just a shutdown. So people went back to the state capitol grounds, not on the grounds, because they have these like cattle fences, riot barricades, whatever you want to call them, these metal fences that are blocking off the Capitol grounds. Now keep in mind, the Capitol grounds, technically, you know, if you're a North Carolina resident, you're paying for it, and it's state-owned property that never closes. You're supposed to be able to walk on there freely 24 hours a day, like and people do. They take pictures and they, you know, it's nicely lit up and everything else. So we went back there, and they had cops posted at a couple of entrances, which they still do to now. They're maintaining a presence because we are not allowed. If you walk onto the Capitol grounds as a demonstrator or protester, you're going to be arrested just about immediately. So we held the sidewalk. People, I didn't. I had to go home that night, but people held the sidewalk on the first night overnight. I left at towards midnight by the time I left. So people, but the cops are not letting anyone sit down. No sleeping, no tents or tarps. But there are people who are donating food. There's a few coolers, there's bottles of water to keep everybody going. And basically, protesters are coming and going, as they can, just to keep the presence there on the sidewalk, because nobody can stay there forever. You can't sleep, you can't do all this stuff. So I went back the next day. Had to leave for another few hours, then I came back. It was close to midnight. I had to post a video to YouTube that I took of the whole Saturday protests. And then I stayed from Saturday night 12 at night all the way through, not sleeping until through the morning. Then I had to do my job. I'm a meteorologist and I work online for that, so I can do it from anywhere. So I had to basically go to work, find a place where I can get access, good, reliable internet access. So it would have to be a coffee shop to start. I took a brief power nap for about 15 minutes, drove back here, took care of some stuff at home, got my paycheck in the mail and did all that. And then I came by and I saw Occupy Chapel Hill. So now, going back to Raleigh, the occupation never stopped. There are people there right now in front of the Capitol, still there. This is day 4 for them. And well, I guess it's day 4 here as well. So I don't know, I can't give you much information on the first day at Chapel Hill because I was not here when they started at this plaza. But I can only tell you, like, I came here, it was 5:30 or so, just before they started their General Assembly at 6 o'clock. And I had my stuff, my camping gear in the car already because I was planning on camping on the Capitol grounds. I just never took the gear out of the car because they're still negotiating to be able, with the state trying to get on those grounds. But so I came here and announced, that I was from Raleigh in the General Assembly, or Occupy Raleigh, and I'd work with these guys. And I kind of now going to be a go-between between the both. And so now, last night I spent the night here. My tent's still set up here, and it'll stay here as long as this occupation continues. And when I can, I will sleep there. Of course, well, we all have personal stuff in our lives to take care of, so I'm not going to be here 24 hours a day, but as much as I can be. And I'm also got to go back and forth to Raleigh here and there. So that's where we're at right now. I know you guys had questions. Did you?
For a lot of us who haven't been following the political situation in Raleigh here, can you explain a very simple idea of what the protest is about and what your goals are?
Okay, I know there's been a lot of confusion in the media, or as far as telling everyone, no, they don't know what their message is, they don't know their demands, they don't know this, they're just there, they're just hippies without jobs or whatever, all this stuff that you've heard. What the basic idea, there's some core things that pretty much all the demonstrations are about, and mainly it's things like the greed of the mega corporations on Wall Street and their influence over the government as a whole, buying politicians, lobbyists, and all that stuff. And it's basically that kind of money controlling government for their benefits and not the rest of the, as they call them, 99%. And you've seen in the last 10 years, obviously the economy's been terrible. The income disparity between the very top few and the rest of us, actually middle class income and lower, and working class income has declined relatively if you account for inflation as well. While if you look at a graph, their income has just basically gone off the charts. And going further, are you guys familiar with the Citizens United Supreme Court decision? No. Okay, what it basically is, it basically unlocked the doors to corporations to give as much money as they want. They can to politicians. There's no limits basically anymore. They can because corporations are people. You know, they First Amendment rights is what the Supreme Court said. So they can have now almost by elections. So that's a big part. That goes back to that whole thing of the influence on government. Second, you know, back in 2008 as well, you guys are familiar with all the bailouts and everything that happened with major banks and Goldman Sachs and all that. There has not been a single indictment for any of the fraud that they committed that helped tank the economy. So that's another big reason that we're here. I mean, there are countless other things that stem from that we would be here all day talking about. And I just want to say that there are slightly varying viewpoints among everybody here, and that's where the media is saying there's too much confusion. You know, there are varying viewpoints and different things. I don't agree probably with everything everybody else camping here does, but there are definitely a lot of common ground. And it's not. Also, we've had conservatives, Ron Paul supporters, and even a few Tea Partiers that have shown up to these rallies in support of what we're doing. Because, you know, originally a lot of a part of the Tea Party, like I say all of them, were not really. They kind of got co-opted by the you know, Fox News and the right over time, and but at the beginning they were kind of pissed off about the same thing. So those bank bailouts, you know, no accountability and whatnot. Now granted there is a lot of disagreement on a lot of social issues and everything else now between, you know, a lot of us and the Tea Party, but there's some common ground, and this movement depends on that common ground. And here at the General Assemblies, everybody's supposed to have an equal voice. You know, there's a facilitator that says, you know, to keep order, kind of along the lines of a Robert Rules. Of, you know, you bring up a proposal, they talk about it, people bring up concerns. If you have what they call a block, which is a major ethical dilemma with it, you know, you go like this. And that's a serious thing. That means you're willing to walk away if you know it can't remove your block after they talk about it. So there's a whole process that everybody can be heard. So all these little varying viewpoints, you try to reach consensus. So it's a pure democratic process. You try to reach consensus, and then there's also logistics that are talked about at General Assembly. Are we going to march today? We need food. We need working groups to go do this. We need a legal guy to go do this. And that kind of stuff gets worked out in General Assembly. That's kind of the governing process of this whole thing. And that's why there are no immediate list of demands. I know everybody's waiting for this big master list of what demands. We're working it out. We're taking our time. We don't want this movement hijacked. We want to affect change, but we want to do it right, you know, and that's basically do it very carefully and methodically. And I know the media is impatient. We're a society where we want it now. So that's basically what I, you know, my take on this whole Occupy movement. Is there any other